Now, WJC's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome into Purple Playbook. I'm Alex Glaze, joined as always by two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith. A lot to get to over the next 30 minutes as the clock ticks towards free agency. We have a national champion joining the show later on, Roman Hemby, former Terp, going to be joining us. Always cool to catch up with the national champ. But Torrey, before we get to that, obviously the next couple of days are going to be really big, especially for folks here in Baltimore, as the free agency window opens up. And the big question now is, what is going to happen with Tyler Linderbaum, right? I mean, he's the belle of the ball almost when you talk about free agents, and he wants to get paid, and rightfully so. What do you think is going to happen with Linderbaum over these next couple of days?
I think it's going to be right here in Baltimore. He's the priority number one, so I think there's no way that he doesn't make it out, and, just the process of doing business.
All right, well, listen. We know that Eric DeCosta said that the Ravens offered Linderbaum a market-setting deal, but let's take a look at some of the numbers from some of the other centers around the league and what they're being paid. Creed Humphrey, of course, at the top of that list, received a 4-year, $72 million deal not too long ago. 25 years old, just like Tyler Linderbaum. And when we're talking about just the way that the league is right now and the salary cap just increased, right? You can see Linderbaum becoming the highest paid safety, maybe eclipsing $20 million per year, but highest paid center, I should say, not safety. That'd be crazy. That'd be something if he was playing safety. But Albert Breer is reporting that Linderbaum is looking for $25 million per year.
Right, that's having an agent that's doing your job, that's trying to get the best deal that you possibly can, and he will be number one. It's just a matter of how far is another team willing to push it. There's no circumstance to me where you can afford to lose the best lineman on your team, right? Stability is something that this offensive line has, I would say, lack overall in terms of the duration of the past few years, but they have had a little bit of stability with him and Ronnie Stanley as well. You can't be in the business of trying to win and get back to where you want to be as Super Bowl contenders and let good players go out the door. So I think there's no world where they can't figure out a way at a pivotal position like center. The center is the quarterback of the offensive line. Right, you can't just easily go and find a replacement. He'll be back in Baltimore.
You know how this goes, though, from the fan perspective. If you were to walk, there's going to be folks that may feel some type of way about Linderbaum. For whatever reason, people take the side of the team always, and you know it from you reaching free agency, what that is going to be like for him as well. Everyone's not Ronnie Stanley, and I bring him up because you mentioned his name. Ronnie last offseason took a team-friendly deal to come back. Right, it took less money because he wanted to be here in Baltimore. But that shouldn't be the expectation for everybody. These guys work hard. They've earned the right to reach free agency and get paid the way that they deserve to be paid.
Absolutely. I think it just has to make sense, right? I think there's space for him to be the top. Obviously, if you're the new number one at your position, salary-wise, you can be considered maybe a little greedy if you want to go chase a few more, because at that point, when you're making that kind of money, that's when it's like, okay, what's the difference in $1 million or $2 million? However, for the majority of players across the league, there is a big difference in how the deal's structured. How much am I getting up front? Yes, guys want to play in certain places, and Tyler loves it here in Baltimore. But if Miami is offering $5 million more, I'd go sprinting down 95 to get down there to the sun if I were him, right? That's just how this business goes. I think sometimes fans, it's not like how it used to be back in the day where your salary may not have been that much of a difference across the league depending on where you are. These guys are making real money now. He loves Baltimore. I don't think he's going anywhere. However, I think people have to understand players have the right, especially on their second deal, to go and secure their future. And there's no reason why Tyler should take a hometown discount when he's the best player in the league at his position.
Well, Miami's an easy choice for anybody. You go down there, get the clear water and everything. That's the easy one. But, just for clarity, I think he's gone. I think if he was going to stay here in Baltimore, he would have already taken that market-setting deal, and we wouldn't even be having this discussion. But another guy that I think probably has played his last couple downs in Baltimore is Isaiah Likely. We heard from him earlier this week. He spoke on Kay Adams' Up and Adams show just about his time here in Baltimore, and as he prepares for free agency, what he's expecting. And what stood out to me, he says he hasn't heard from Jesse Minter. He hasn't heard from Declan Doyle. That's a pretty telltale sign to me that maybe his time here is done.
You're not going to hear from them anyway, to be completely honest.
He heard from the tight ends coach.
I mean, you're not going to hear from them. They're not worried about you, right? that's on Eric DaCosta and Isaiah's agent. You're not going to hear from the head coaches until it comes time for them to try to actually reel you in. I think it sounds good to hear from the head coach, but the reality of it is if you're a guy that's not under contract, what does it matter to him? We have to be honest here because Isaiah, personally, I do think he's going to go elsewhere because he'll get a better deal than what the Ravens can offer him. However, when it boils down to it, no matter how people are in their feelings about the situation, if they pay him a certain number, he would stay, right? And I just don't think they're going to get to that number. So there's no need as a coach to talk to a guy or try to entertain a guy when he's going to be long gone. He'll be the top paid tight end on the market.
Well, he said that the door is not closed for Baltimore, and he said that he has the support of his quarterback, Lamar Jackson.
Like, business is business. I mean, it's just, I got to do right by me, right by my family, and right by, what I feel like I could do in this league. And I feel like, I've shown enough ability to be able to help out any quarterback, any situation, to be able to put points on the board. I mean, L loves me as a player. I mean, it was going crazy. I think Bleacher Report had posted, like, Isaiah Likely will be, like, his next team will be, and then L tweeted out at Ravens. Because that's my brother. I mean, he wants me side by side with him all the time because, like you said, like, we built a relationship and chemistry on the field that, was just getting started, I felt like.
Really quick, because we have to go to break, I think Ravens fans are torn on this one, right? Because they see Isaiah Likely as that young, up-and-coming tight end. And then, obviously, during the season, you have the extension of Mark Andrews. Do you think that the Ravens signed the right tight end?
Well, I think it's tough. Do I think they should still keep Mark Andrews? Absolutely, yes. Do I think Mark Andrews' deal pushes Isaiah Likely out the building? I don't think the two go hand in hand, right? There are teams out here that do have two guys at the same position that are paid at top-tier levels, right? Let's look at the Philadelphia Eagles up north. They have two receivers that at one point were both near or in the top 10. So it's possible to do whatever you want to do if you have guys in your roster, and obviously Mark Andrews is closer to the end than the beginning. I think Isaiah Likely, as much as it is about money for him, because it should be, right? He's reaching that market. However, I think he wants the opportunity, right? And that opportunity to kind of be the guy isn't quite there because Mark Andrews, quite frankly, is still playing at a very high level.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have national champion Roman Hemby joining the show. You are watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The winning prognosis, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. We just wrapped up the NFL Combine, and now, believe it or not, we are just a couple weeks away from the NFL Draft. And joining us on Purple Playbook, former Terp and national champ Roman Hemby. Roman, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We should separate former Terp and national champ because the two don't go hand in hand. I know it's a sore subject, Torrey. But Roman, I just want to start there because, right, like you started your college career at Maryland, played 4 years there. You never wanted to leave, right? But what was that conversation like with Mike Locksley when he calls you in and he says, hey, we want to go a different direction after 4 years at Maryland?
Oh, yeah, it was kind of like exactly what you said, just kind of going through the process, trying to figure out what made the most sense for myself in my career. And, the University of Maryland, it gave me the start, gave me the foundation that I was able to carry with me along the process. But they pretty much said they were going in a different direction. So I got with my support system and figured out what made the most sense. And we tested the portal and kind of bet on myself, and I ended up here.
Yeah, I know the portal is one thing that hurt my feelings, but I'm not surprised at all to see you right here in this situation now. I'm extremely proud of what you've been able to accomplish and obviously winning a national championship. But what is that experience like, being able to have a great career at one stop, even and consider home for you, and now to go to a place that was up and coming and then figure out what it's like to, honestly, y'all are going to be remembered forever up there. What's it like playing in two different big-time schools?
Oh, it's amazing, honestly. I felt like I grew so much as a person throughout this last year, just being able to move away from home for the first time, kind of like what you said. Maryland is home for me. I went to the University of Maryland out of high school, stayed home, was able to be around my family every weekend. And this was kind of like my leap of faith, where I was able to kind of learn how to cook and do things on my own just because I didn't have my support system right behind me every step of the way this time. So being able to go at Maryland and learn some of the things that I learned, and then to kind of put everything together at Indiana University and just kind of see the culmination of what hard work and dedication could do for you. And it's a storybook season, and definitely something that'll go down in history.
Hold on, what are we cooking? Are we just talking like eggs? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the real deal? Like, are you chefing up?
I'm chefing up. I'm a routine guy. I like to make the same type of things just so I could kind of master it or get it to the way that I like it. Really heavy into the steaks, spinach, a lot of vegetables. But I just cook quick things, something that I can keep on my regimen to make sure that I'm keeping my body weight the way I want it to, and to keep me performing on a high level.
Well, speaking of regimen, you're on the circuit now, right? You finished the combine. Now you had to really watch your weight because you're going on these team visits, you're getting to know folks, and they feed you real good. What's this process look like for you, and where are you currently training?
Oh yeah, so I'm training down in Davie at Bomarito. I actually didn't go back to Indiana after the game. We played in Miami, and I said that's a perfect opportunity for me to get a jump on training. So the day after the national championship, believe it or not, I was here getting my baseline testing and figuring out ways to kind of better suit my body and get it in the best shape for this next opportunity. And kind of to your point, everything's up in the air for the next month and a half for myself. Just finished up the combine, really training like a madman here to make sure that I'm at my best come April 1st during our pro day. And then, meeting those teams, meeting with those teams, flying out, just making sure that I keep my body in the best position possible so that I can keep putting my best foot forward in front of those coaches and staffs and leave a lasting impression that'll help me on draft night.
I am shocked that you wanted to stay in South Florida in January instead of going back to absolutely shocked. But I do want to talk about the combine for a second, because I know going into it you had mentioned wanting to make an impression on teams, right, and really show teams what you could do. What kind of impression do you feel like you left on folks in Indianapolis?
I think I left a really good impression. I feel like I interviewed very well. Just my knowledge of football and the knowledge of the game that I've learned, bits and pieces that I learned from every coach along the way. I think it helps me to kind of set myself apart in that aspect, as well as being able to be one of those guys that makes minimal mistakes. I feel like when I was out there on the field, my footwork kind of took over, and no thinking. No thinking really took place out there. Just a natural athlete, somebody that can go out there and do what I have to do. And I feel like I was able to display that a little bit. Definitely some things that I want to work on. And come April 1st, I'll be able to do my testing portion where hopefully I can blaze off the charts and do really well in that aspect. But I was just so blessed to be able to showcase my talents in front of such a great group of people.
Well, you mentioned those meetings. A lot of people don't know they ask you some tough questions in there at times. I have one that comes to mind. I'm going to hold on to it for a second. But what's one of the wildest questions that you were asked, if any, when you were behind those closed doors?
I feel like I didn't get too many crazy questions or outlandish questions that would make you kind of take a step back. I think the hardest question or the craziest question I got throughout the process was, what do you like least about football? And it's like, you grow up, being in my position, you love football. You really can point out 1,000 things that you love about it. But when somebody says, what's something that you don't like about it, it was really tough for me to kind of answer that question. But once I kind of got a good grasp of it, I was able to answer it and kind of play to my situation and how I feel about, the game of football. And I think that was the only question that I got. I got really good questions. I think that was the only question that may have stumped me a little bit, made me trip over my words.
Well, that's better than your question, Torrey.
Well, a lot better. They asked me, what would I do if the coach reached across the table and slapped me in the face? So completely different question there.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, definitely different.
Roman, you've gone through this process now. You've been meeting with these teams. Just kind of, do you have a feel for where would maybe be a right fit for you? Do you have a kind of a check of the temperature of teams that are maybe a little more hot onto you than others? Like, what are your feelings right now as you get closer to the draft?
Oh, yeah. I feel like every meeting that I had was really good with every team that I met with. I felt like I clicked with every coach that I encountered, every scout that I encountered. Just me personally, I feel like I had a stronger connection with a lot of those West Coast style offenses just because of my playing style as a player. I feel like being a little bit of more of a versatile player, somebody that loves to catch the ball out the backfield, somebody that can hit the home run plays in the run game, inside zone and outside zone. I feel like a lot of those coaches were definitely feeling the vibe that I could kind of bring to the table. But I had great great meetings with definitely everybody that I came encountering with. So.
Real quick, who do you think your NFL comp would be?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I always said Alvin Kamara growing up, but now I feel like I see a lot of myself in a lot of players that I watch. I like to model my game off of certain pieces that I learned from players, and I always bring up the fact that I watch Bijan Robinson run outside zone all the time just because I like his feel, the way that he can kind of stay on his track, and I try to steal pieces of that. I look at Christian McCaffrey, his route running ability. His yards at the contact, yards at the catch as well. I definitely try to model my game after that. And I feel like if you kind of take a little bit of him, a little bit of Bijan Robinson, and you kind of just mash them together, you get a odd creature, an odd person, and that's kind of me. Somebody that can do a little bit of everything, somebody that's willing to do a little bit of everything and has a winning mindset.
All right, well, that's Roman Hemby, a John Carroll alum, a former Terp, a national champ, and soon to be NFL draft pick. Roman, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about DJ Moore and the big trade ahead that is it's coming in the NFL. You're watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The Bottom Line, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. We're just talking about the Terps, so let's stick with the theme a little bit. A big trade in the NFL this week. DJ Moore reportedly traded to the Bills. A big move. Josh Allen finally has his number one receiver. It feels like it's eluded the Bills for quite some time. What do you think of the trade? Is that something or nothing?
I think there's something to it. I think DJ Moore is a big-time playmaker, an athlete at running back. Guy that could just make big-time plays for you. And that element was missing in the game there. So a guy that's a versatile piece that'll help that Buffalo Bills offense out. And I think it'll allow, again, another security blanket for your quarterback in Josh Allen. He needs more weapons. He has a great tight end and Dalton Kincaid. And obviously the running game is nice there. So the more weapons you have, the merrier.
How do you think DJ feels about this? I mean, I know things were just kind of they were just starting to figure things out in Chicago a little bit. Now he goes from, it seems like an ascending quarterback in Caleb Williams to Josh Allen.
Yeah, not a bad trade when you talk about going from with the talent, right? Two talented quarterbacks there. I feel bad for him because you go from one cold city to another, and I'm sure I know Chicago is more entertaining than Buffalo. However, DJ's a super laid-back person. He's just focused on ball, and he's going to do his thing up there in Buffalo. I'm excited for him.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's stick with the Terps, and let's stick with Terps wide receivers. Why not? Stephon Diggs reportedly released by the Bills earlier, or the Patriots, I should say, earlier this week. Just kind of what do you make of all that? And I know you had a tweet out there. Maybe he comes back to Baltimore or ends up in D.C. I mean, because Stephon put up, 1,000 yards last year. He can still produce.
He's definitely playing at a high level still. I think he proved that he can be a very good teammate. I think he understands where he is at this point in his career. He's still playing at a very high level. You got to think, he gave you 1,000 yards off of a torn knee. His reps were more limited. He wasn't really full go, so he had a very productive year. I think it'd be great for him to come back, be on 95 somewhere, right? Whether it's here in Baltimore or down in Washington. But I really think he would be a really good fit here in Baltimore. And the reason why is you already have Zay Flowers. You need your guy on the outside, right? Zay moves inside and outside. Diggs can run every route. He's your possession type guy. You mix in Rashad Bateman. Those are three really good receivers, and Diggs' price is not going to be anywhere near where it was before. So, again, I think he's proven that he doesn't have to be the guy that gets the ball a million times. His leadership ability, again, took leaps forward, and everyone that knows him knows he's always passionate. He's going to work hard. He's in the lead. I like to see him here in Baltimore.
That's your guy. You're not supposed to be like, his price. Come on, you're supposed to talk that up a little bit.
We got to talk about where the business is. Like, there's not too many 30-something-year-old receivers they're going to keep tossing the bag at. So he's going to get a nice contract, but it's not going to be where it is top market guys. Yeah. So Zay's going to have to get paid here soon.
For sure.
However, when you talk about Lamar Jackson, they're going to have some flexibility to be able to bring in a veteran receiver.
And really quick, the other big quarterback news, Kyler Murray announced that his days in Arizona are done. Where do you see Kyler landing? Do you think that's something or nothing, that post?
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot of something to it, and it's interesting to see, like, where does he fit?
He's young still.
Yeah, he's still young. He's still very much a playmaker. He has to get his health in order. But he's a guy, to me, that if I'm thinking about Kyler Murray, I'm Minnesota.
Sure.
Right? I know you have your young quarterback that you drafted, but they've continued to have a veteran guy come in there and compete with him. Kyler Murray at his best looked like the best player in the league, right? We have to be honest about what he looked like at certain times. Has he been consistent? Absolutely not. But he has that type of potential. So if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I take a huge look at trying to bring him in and see if he can spark something in the quarterback battle with our young guy.
Absolutely. Love it. All right, well, that's going to do it for Something or Nothing. We're going to wrap up the show. When we come back, you are watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. Now, WJC's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook as we wrap up the show and get ready for the legal tampering period and free agency tour. Got to ask you, if you had to put together your top free agent that the Ravens could go out and get, who would it be?
I don't think it's going to be possible because they're not going to pay that much, but it would be Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals. Why? You hurt your
And you know he would
competitor.
love to go out and get after
Oh
Joe
my
Burrow.
gosh,
You know he
probably
loved
had
that.
20 sacks a game versus them, but you bring him here, he gets to go against a team that has done him dirty for the last few years, and the reality of it is he's a heck of a pass rusher, and Baltimore needs more of those guys.
Edge rusher, obviously a big need here. Do you see a world where Owe comes back to Baltimore?
No.
No, he's gonna get paid.
I think he's going to make some money. I think he made himself some money. Do I think he's going to be top tier? No, but that's the kind of guy that the Ravens typically like to sign.
No, he's not old.
But they've already
He's
seen him.
He's
He
not
ain't
old
coming
enough.
back
He's
here.
not old enough for.
He's not coming back here.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's Purple Playbook. For Torrey Smith, I'm Alex Glaze. We do the show every week. We will be back. Maybe we're talking Linderbaum again next week. I don't know. I think we're going to talk Lamar, though.
Deals will be
feel
done.
like that's going to
Deals will be done by next week.